Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to NPU Live. I'm Keri Rodriguez.
And I'm Tim Langen.
Today is Wednesday. It is June 10th, 2020.
That's right.
Week 13 of the pandemic.
Yep.
Lots of exciting guests this week, lots of great conversations, and I'm excited for this one as well. We're welcoming back Mira Brown from Prepared Parents and our friend Colleen Cook, who is from Oklahoma. She's in Wisconsin now.
She's everywhere now. She's been in Tennessee. She's been in Illinois. She's been all over the country this week.
She's been traveling across her turf, and we're also welcoming her as a staff member to the National Parents Union. So we're really excited to talk about her new role and what she's going to be doing to help support our member organizations and our affiliates across the country. So we'll be talking to her a bit about that and her experience as a mom and a grandmama. So excited to have Colleen back with us. It'll be fantastic. But first, we got to start off with how the world is doing in this crazy time. So, Tim, where are we?
Well, still, we've got about 2 million cases of COVID confirmed in the U.S. and unfortunately, 1,000 new deaths in the U.S. since yesterday. So that brings the death toll of confirmed U.S. cases, deaths to 114,000.
That's right. And we're starting to see the states that were originally more open or less conservative in terms of shutting down and keeping things closed, opening up a little bit earlier. Now we're seeing spikes in COVID-19 popping up there. This is going to be a roller coaster, folks. It's going to be really, we're really going to have to track what's happening here to make sure that we're all mindful about what's happening in our individual states, because states that opened up earlier are now seeing spikes. We were told that, the virus is not actually gone.
Nope.
It is still happening. We have people out in the streets fighting for justice because they have to fight for their lives, fighting on all fronts, disproportionately impacted by COVID-19, disproportionately impacted by police brutality. So much happening in the world that requires us to just try to reopen and get back into the streets. And then, of course, 3 weeks ago, you were seeing folks with guns up at their state houses saying, we want to open now. Well, now you're open and you're seeing spikes. So.
Yep. And Arizona telling hospitals actually to activate emergency plans again. So, yikes.
It's interesting. Here in Massachusetts, we're watching the governor, move us towards, phase 2, phase 3. One of the leading indicators is that surge capacity in hospitals.
Right.
Who knew that we'd have to become experts on surge capacity and actually I have to know what that means?
Whole new vocabulary.
Yeah, very, very strange.
That's right. In other news, of course, as more peaceful protests take place across the country concerning George Floyd's death, George Floyd's brother, Phineas Floyd, will testify today before the House concerning police brutality.
Well, that's going to be interesting in Washington, D.C. Some controversy about House Democrats taking a knee and wearing African garments at the same time. Whether or not that was appropriate, I think was meant, in the spirit of solidarity, not meaning to offend, may have overstepped there. A lot of people having some feelings about that picture, the optics of that, who told them that would be a good idea. But refreshing to see at least the Democrats addressing police brutality, police reform, what's going to happen there. Pretty stunning picture, though. I don't know if you saw this picture out of New York. The head of the police union there yelling and screaming at the microphone about the unfair treatment of police department members and police officers in the media, saying, you're vilifying us, you're vilifying us in the media, our elected officials have left us, this is so unfair. Whew.
I got nothing for you, man.
How the tide has turned.
I know. And they canceled cops.
Yes, they after 33 years.
33 years, they canceled cops.
Wow, things are changing pretty rapidly. Things not standing up the test of time. Do you remember watching Cops?
I do remember watching Cops.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, as I got older, I wondered how that show was actually legal.
And you wonder, it's like a performance by the police officers because they're not really taping it. It's not making it to air unless they're roughing somebody up.
Right, something good has to happen.
Or something crazy is happening. Good tongue-in-cheek there. It's got to be something spicy, and usually that's police brutality happening live on the air. So after 33
some kind
years,
of drama, it's off.
Crazy how things have not stood up the test of time. Refreshing to see some folks really reacting to that.
That's
so
right.
The folks that own Spike TV, I think it's Paramount now,
Yeah.
saying it's done.
It's done. Not happening anymore. And again, yesterday, thousands of mourners paid their respects to Floyd, who was buried next to his mother in Texas.
That's awesome.
That's right. That's right. In other news, people taking action, and emotions are coming out in different ways. In Virginia, we've heard a lot about statues tripping and falling into the water. A crowd in Virginia threw a Christopher Columbus statue in a lake in Richmond following a protest in the city.
And that actually happened right here in Boston, Massachusetts as well. Overnight, took his head right off in the North End. People shocked. It's going to be interesting to see what comes of that.
Yes.
Knowing that is in the North End. He is an Italian icon.
Heavily Italian population in the North End of Boston.
Population in the North End of Boston. Will be interesting to see how that plays out. We're already seeing some of it in social media, but folks saying, you know what, it's time for them all to come down. That's also, right. General Petraeus coming out in Atlantic magazine with an extraordinary piece. It's just incredible to watch hour by hour how things are changing in our nation, talking about, and we had this conversation earlier this week and last week about Confederate flags, Confederate names, the Confederacy. Why is it still celebrated in the United States unless you want to send a very clear signal, quick and easy, that you're a racist or a traitor? That's my view. Always, long-standing view that if you want to send up the bat signal, hey, racist, traitor over here, just use the Confederate flag. A lot of people saying, is it now time to rename some of our military bases where like some of our elite training happens for our military? Why were these places named after Confederate generals in the first place?
I got nothing for you.
I don't get it, but it's great. General Petraeus coming out. He's got some feelings about that, and hopefully people listen to that.
Yeah.
It's just, who knows? The excuses folks come up with not to listen to long-standing military leaders that conflict the messaging of this insane person who is in charge of the country right now.
Yep.
Knows no bounds. So who knows how people will feel about that? I support it.
Yep.
Take their names. Fort Bragg. Why are we celebrating these folks? I don't get it.
Yeah. I got nothing for you. But I agree. One thing I want to bring up, since we're pounding on that table there today, I don't know if you've noticed over the last few months, Keri, I've become quite the homebody and
haven't we all, Tim?
Renovator. I was strutting around on Mount Vernon Street yesterday with a buzzsaw.
Yes, you were. Yes.
Clipping those hedges. Got some plants I water now.
So this has been a long time coming, but Tim finally using power tools, which if you're a friend of Tim's, may give you a little bit of agita.
A couple things I don't normally do unless there's a pandemic. I don't normally put things together, and I don't handle power tools.
And look at you putting things together. You put together a number of things in front of me. I don't understand what all the fuss is about.
I know, right? Exactly. Well, you got to do it. But so knowing that, I've become a big fan recently of Home Depot. Home Depot.
Whoever knew those?
Who knew I would have to know about? That's right, Christy Joyce. Power to Tim. You got that right.
Literally power to Tim.
Power to Tim. I'll hook up those power cords.
Yeah, he was trimming those
Home
hedges.
Depot.
Whoa.
But I might have to stop that.
Why?
Let me get his name right here. I found out today, and again, we all have our political leanings. And I'm finding out that Bernie Marcus apparently has talked about donating a large portion, and this could be clickbait, I could be wrong, 90% of his fortune to the Trump re-election campaign. Have you heard that?
Really?
That's what I heard.
God, the times are troubling. Our whole lives are changing. We can't go to Wendy's because they give a lot of money to folks that are doing wrong in this country. Who else? KFC,
Taco Bell.
I
just turned up. It wasn't a Taco Bell.
I know. I gotta say, Taco Bell was not actually a huge part of my life prior to this missing.
He did. He did it last time too. He supported his
Yeah,
last campaign.
Yeah, so no more Home Depot.
Let me tell you something. What's his name?
We gotta check Lowe's. Where else can we shop if we're not going to Home Depot?
Well, I gotta tell you, I'm gonna get my mulch and plant manure at Ricky's.
Ricky's Flower
Ricky's
Market
Flowers in
Union
Somerville.
Square in
I'll
Somerville.
shop goddamn local. Tash
That's
Fear
right.
and Christy Joyce, they're supporting me here. That's right. I'm not gonna support white supremacy at Home Depot.
No white supremacy. So that's actually that's pretty powerful. Honestly, folks, where you spend your money is really important. I know we've talked a little bit about boycotts, but as important as your vote is where you spend your money. So shop locally. As long as you know the local person is great.
Because I'm on fire here.
Yeah.
If I ever knew that buying that scrumptious chicken sandwich at Wendy's or those incredible soft tacos at Taco Bell was supporting racism.
Done. That's why
I got COVID 20, I gotta lose.
I have not had a delicious Chick-fil-A sandwich in 10 years because
those
they
are
are anti-LGBTQAI and I don't roll like that. So you got to pay attention to where you spend your money and where they spend their money.
That's right.
Frankly. So
Home Depot, you lost my mulch business.
And we're gonna be doing a lot of mulching this weekend. So
yeah, we are.
You lost out, Home Depot.
You lost out, buddy. But you know who knows a lot about mulch?
Because she's got a beautiful yard.
She's got a beautiful yard. I hope I see her brother-in-law. See, that's Mira. Get Tim through a week of Life Brown. That's right.
That's right, Mira
Let's
Brown
get her on
checking in
here
with us from Prepared Parents. Austin, Texas. Look at this beautiful scenery. She is in the yard.
I lost the rock, paper, scissors bet. Both Ben and I, when we have both competing important meetings, we do rock, paper, scissors, and he got the space inside. So hopefully you guys can hear me. I'm sitting outside.
You look
look
beautiful.
at you.
I love this.
Oh, thank you.
Can I make a correction here? Because Mira, I know you're going to be buying some mulch this weekend, as will I, because you've got that beautiful backyard. Christy Joyce has informed us that the Home Depot founder actually retired more than a decade ago.
Oh.
So it's his personal fortune he donates.
Mm.
And that Home Depot does not endorse presidential candidates or donate toward them.
Mm.
So I'll just...
Keri doesn't look convinced on it.
I don't convince her much, so...
Does he still own Home Depot stock? Is that where his personal fortune is?
I don't know.
I'll
go down that.
More homework to be done there.
But Mira, help me live this week.
That's right. How are you, Mira? How's your summer going? You are officially flying without you get no training wheels here from the school district anymore. Summer has started in Austin, Texas with your two little ones. So how's it going? This is what, day 3? How's it looking? No scaffolding here from the school district.
It's good. It's I think it's easier in some ways. We talked a little bit about this. I just the stress of I think school and Zooms and all of that, worksheets or whatever is done, and so it's just a lot of play, and just sort of being outside and in the backyard and things like that. So far so good. Interesting. Gabriel, I think.
Oh, you might be freezing up a little bit.
Yeah, Mira.
I think we talked before. Oh no. I'm sorry. See, I lost paper. I might have to go back inside.
I think we got you.
You're cool.
I think like Gabriel, it's interesting. Gabriel has moved into a place of just like flat out ignoring me. And I think it's like his way of either I'm getting a look into teenage years of what he's going to be like as a teenage boy, or he just was so done, that like, and again, I was the sort of like, I was the teacher mom, when we split up our day, my husband and I. And so I'd be like, hey, sweet pie, how are you? Nothing. Hey, nothing. Just like walk by me. Like, I think he's sort of coming to terms with it in his own way. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to try not to take it personally that my 6-year-old is flat out ignoring me.
That's kind of interesting because I wonder, like, okay, school is over. You've been teacher mom. Like, he's done talking to his teachers.
Yeah,
like,
he's just done with me.
Have to actually morph into mom And he's gonna have to remember, oh yeah, I remember my fun mom I used to do stuff with, and she didn't ride me about Zoom meetings 24/7. You know, like I remember
Fights
that.
we would get into. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So,
I kind of have to find that too, honestly. Like I'm like, am I still, do I have fun in me? Like, is that left over? You know, because I do think parents are, you know, the school year is ending, right? Across, has ended or is sort of in its final throes, and parents are exhausted. And I
Right.
think a lot of parents, you know, the parents are staring down months ahead of summer, um, and are probably not only wondering, like, oh my gosh, right? I think that there is a small part of all of us that, you know, is worried about sort of how the year ended, right? Like learning loss, all of these things that are still there and are just flat out exhausted
Right.
as they stare down the months ahead. And kids too. Yeah.
so Mira, here's what we did, okay? Because yes, the school year is actually ending, I think, for us on Monday, right?
Yeah.
So we actually set up a schedule because you know, we may be tired, you know, we may be spiritually, emotionally, and physically exhausted, but we still got all these boys.
Yeah.
So
Anyway.
they're not going anywhere. They still need to be entertained. They still need to have some structure. So we sat down, and Tim actually made a little spreadsheet. He's like the Excel
Nice.
here, which is why he's our COO too, because he's the master of the spreadsheet here. So he set up, we have like a family spreadsheet now. It's an hour by hour little TikTok of,
Yeah.
you know, what we're going to do in theory with a lot of grace periods in there. But it's all about, you know, setting up like almost like a theme for the day. So Wednesdays and Thursdays, we're going to be doing a lot of physical activity. We're going to have time for art. We're going to have some time for music. In the mornings, they know that my cousin is going to come over and do some activities. They've got chores that they've got to do. You know, the days when we take out the trash and we bring the trash in, so that there's some structure and they can kind of anticipate. And I've got to say, you know, my oldest son who has autism and ADHD, it is really critical to help him manage his anxiety. Having a schedule is really important so he can predict.
Yep.
Even in the classroom, I know, like, he does not do well when things come up. Things do come up, but like if he's anticipating we're doing even if, you know, something comes up, the teacher's out or they've got to move something, he gets very upset. Well, you said we're doing math. Like, math is next.
Yes.
My brain is ready for
very familiar with my 6.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that this little schedule will help us.
Yeah. With his ADHD. Yep.
Okay, I think we do have Mira. Okay.
Good.
Yeah, you're popping in and out a little bit. So we're gonna.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
Do not worry about it. So Mira, you got a tip for us this week as we start to navigate this uncharted waters where we are totally responsible for everything that is going down. No more help from teachers and the schools. We got to figure this stuff out. So what is our tip for this week? What are you guys talking about with prepared parents?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, following on to, and please tell me if I cut out, but following on to what you guys were saying, right? I do think the natural inclination, sort of similar to the school year, is to try to figure out, you know, kids do need routine. We've talked a lot about that. But what do you know, if you're worried about, still a little bit worried about learning loss, but you also just want a joyful summer. Like, it was a really hard spring. And I think all parents, right, are just craving just a happy, if possible, joyful, relaxed summer, because we don't know what's coming next year. So if you go back into the learning science, here's our recommendation. Think about your day, think about 120 minutes. It sounds like a lot, but it's 2 hours, right? Think about 120 minutes and focus on 2 like critical things, probably the most important things that are the foundation of learning, and that's curiosity and reading. And if you can do sort of nothing else, and certainly it can be more, I'm not saying it can be more than 2, but those are sort of foundational. And here's why we we pick them. I'm going to start with curiosity for a second. It is hands down, and we've talked a little bit about this in the spring, but it is hands down possibly the most undervalued habit that our kids need to be successful in school and, quite frankly, in life. And I think really sadly, like we've talked about how kids are just innately curious. They ask a lot of questions. They want to explore things. And yet it's kind of pushed out of them, right? When you think about how school is and what, like, it's sort of, oftentimes they sort of lose that curiosity because it's not valued.
It's my fault, honestly, because there's a lot of questions and a lot of curiosity, and I'm the queen of shutting it down. Like, you're asking 10,000 questions. We just got to do it. Just do it because mommy said, like, this is how we do things. Like, and it's really, you have to be mindful. That's why this seems pretty obvious that you want to encourage curiosity.
Yeah.
You actually have to think about it like, okay, it's a good thing that he's asking a million questions. It's a good thing that he wants to know more about this. It's a good thing that he wants to sit down and tell me 10,000 things that he just read in the National Geographic book. I fake it till you make it, parents.
And he sat down and he read the National Geographic book, right? Like, when you think about that, because so learning science, there are curiosity is one of 3 top habits, along with self-direction and purpose. And here's why, when you think about what you just said and how they all fit together. Self-direction, right? Your ability to actually take action independently. Purpose, what's motivating to you, what's meaningful, right, to you. And curiosity is the ability to ask questions. Oh no, you're losing me again.
Ask me to ask questions. That's okay.
I'm never losing rock, paper, scissors again. I will find my way to cheat through it if I need to. And curiosity, right, is the ability to challenge your own beliefs, to explore, to be open, right, to learning new things. When you piece all 3 of those together, you get a kid who's set up to know who they are, what they want, what they care about, and know how to go after it, right? So when you think about curiosity in the realms of sort of purpose, self-direction, that is why it is so important to let your kids follow their curiosity over the summer, because, like, learning will happen. And there are ways to do this, I think, independently, right? And obviously it depends on sort of the age of your kids and all of that, but sitting down and just saying sort of what you guys did, but just saying, like, what are you curious about? What do you have questions about? What do you want to explore? And sort of making that list with your kids, and then sort of making a plan for them to independently go and expose themselves to, whether that's in their backyard or on the internet or reading books, right, or whatever it might be. And, like, keep going deeper and deeper, because kids are curious about a lot of things, but they're going to narrow and be like, I read the National Geographic, nah, not so curious about, X, Y, and Z anymore. But I really, really want to make a summer project, for example, out of, name something, right, that, like, your older son or your kids are curious about, and turning it into something that is hands-on, that they're experiencing, is huge.
When you give them that task, like, for instance, Tim's oldest son, Max, just did an incredible report and presentation
on JFK.
It was awesome. And, like, you should see him. He was wearing the
suit, tie. He looked really handsome.
He kind of played the part, really did a lot of research, thought about it, he was asking questions for 2 weeks about it, and really just, coming up with, hey, did you know this? And, like, let's talk about this. And what's the connection to the space program? And, it was like a series of conversations. It's making me think, like, we should actually be giving them, okay, this week, you're going to do a project on this. You can kind of have the space to, like, we could say it's on space and say, okay, tell me all about your favorite planet. Tell me all of the things, which I'm thinking about. My Miles loves to quiz me about, like, do you know how many rings this planet has and why it has rings and what the rings are good for? Like, he would love to be able to just download all of these things that he found out because he was curious about them. So,
and it motivated him, right? The curiosity and the motivation go hand in hand, and your kids are going to learn 10 times more when they're motivated, right, to learn, when there's something that's, like, sparking you know, an interest or a passion, even if it's short and fleeting. My 16-and-a-half-year-old, he's 6.5, right? Like things are generally fleeting, and you sort of combine ADHD and things like that. Like he pings all over the place. But even in those moments, right, that spark, let them, you know, let them go after it. And I'm a culprit of stopping it too. Like I'm kind of like, I don't have time for that, or, you know, why don't you just go listen to a book, you know, and that's very like sort of the difference between passive and active learning, right? Sort of this idea of passive is just taking in information, not really doing anything with it. Active is that hands-on component, putting on that suit, doing that presentation, figuring out what you want to actually present on, going in and exploring and researching and learning. And the truth is, kids can do that independently, you know, certainly, you know, and we have we have a tool where we took essentially the best of what educators call project-based learning. And we created a tool early on for parents to help you and help kids figure out, okay, I want to explore JFK or whatever it might be. Here's how I can actually turn it into a project. Here are the steps I can take. And so you can download that at Prepared for Success and do that with your kids as a way to follow their curiosity. And then quickly, I want to talk about the second, which is reading. And the two go together, right? When you're curious, right, you read. But I do want to talk about reading because again, it is the foundation of learning, right? It just is. And so, you know, 20 minutes a day is what they say. For 20 minutes a day, you can sort of stimulate that. And again, that goes back towards sort of passive and active. I think a lot of times when people hear about summer, you think, at least I did from my own memories, like think about like, great, it's my time to sit in front of a screen and watch endless TV because I'm off, you know. And I'm a culprit of this. My younger son is watching an obscene amount of Daniel Tiger, like an obscene amount of Daniel Tiger. I mean, who doesn't love Daniel Tiger? Like Daniel Tiger is amazing, but it's sort of an obscene amount because he's just passive. He just sits there, he stares at the screen, right? He's just absorbing information. He's not doing anything. There's nothing active happening for him to then make sense of it, right? And so the act of picking up a book, reading, taking in the vocabulary, you pick up 50% more words and vocabulary via a book than watching the screen, right? Is huge for kids' brain development. It's huge for learning and literacy, right? We all know it. And so if you have to pick two things, if you have to think about your day and you're stressed for time, you're working, your kids are home, you don't have the option of camp, some are open, some are not, 120 minutes a day, curiosity and reading. And if you can do that, I think that can give parents peace of mind over the summer months that their kids are sort of learning and developing. I think it's happy. I think it's joyful for everyone involved. And so that's our tip for this week.
Well, Mira, speaking of happy, joyful, and a curiosity, did I hear something about you and a Flowbee this weekend?
Yes, can I show you guys a picture really quick?
Yeah.
So to end in a very light way, yes. So my kids' hair, my two kids have different hair. My 2-year-old has hair like mine. It's sort of in a bun because I've given up on life, but like on hair life, but like it's curly. And so he has all these curls, but it was like down to here. Mm-hmm. And he like could not see. And then my older son has my husband's hair, and I just have no idea. You can't kind of just do a buzz cut. Like I have no idea what to say. And I pulled out the scissors, and all three of them, my husband, my two sons, ran. They're like, get those away from me. You have no idea what you're doing. I was like, but I've watched a YouTube video. They're like, no. So my neighbor lent me her Flowbee, and I will show you a picture of it. It works. It totally works. I'm going to be a thing for Flowbee, an info commercial. Let's see if this is working. Can you see my screen? No. So that's Miles. So you hook it up to your vacuum cleaner, and then you just sort of, I don't know, take it up and down on their hair, and it basically vacuum cuts their hair. And you can see Miles is a little skeptical. He's like eating his like snack at the same time. But that is me Flowbeeing my kids' hair this weekend. And in fairness, he no longer has hair in his eyes, but he does have a mullet now because I could not figure out how to get the back curls. And so it's like short, and then it's like poof.
I want to get this. So you actually, you hook it up to the vacuum cleaner.
Yep,
You put on the vacuum cleaner. Oh my gosh.
Well, this is great because so our next guest is Colleen Cook, and her new role is actually going to be director of membership communications, and she's working on our membership program. And one of the things initiative is going to be reaching out to businesses and community support. I think she should start out with the Floby Company.
I know.
I don't know the political leanings, but I mean, I'll look
get
into
it out of the country.
That's right.
Endorsed by Mira Brown, parents.
If parents ever need advocacy and Flobies right now is the time.
That's right.
If you have no idea how to cut hair, which is this one, and you have to cut your kid's hair, I'm telling you, it is although I mean, I was slightly stressed. And of course you have the vacuum. It's not so loud. It's not like loud like a vacuum cleaner. It sort of mutes the vacuum sound, but you're still hooked up to a vacuum cleaner and you're just sort of going like this with the Floby thing. And it like,
see, I have Keri
hair, chops it.
I have Keri here. She cuts all the hair in the family, but I mean, not everyone can have a Keri. They need a Floby.
Yeah,
exactly. I don't have your skills, Keri. I just don't.
Like vacuums and kids and sucking and cutting at the same time. I don't know. It seems a little dicey.
It was a little dicey, but it was less dicey than me with just flat out scissors trying to. I would have given them like the bowl cut, like put the bowl down and just like cut around.
Yeah, it's a throwback to our youth, 1996. There you go. Everybody.
Exactly.
Well, Mira, thanks for your tips. Thanks for the Floby plug. And Floby, if you'd like to sponsor the National Parents Union, you can email me info@npunion.org.
Do it, Floby. Do it. Thank you both so much. Prepared for Success. Sign up. A lot more coming. Oh, can I make one more plug? So sorry. We heard loud and clear from you all, from your polling, over 60% of parents want schools to rethink what school looks like. So we want to, but we've gotten emails and heard from parents like, what does that mean? Like, what does rethinking? What does redesigning? What is attainable? Like, what should I expect? And so we're going to unpack that over the summer. So every week we'll have our tip for parents. And then we want to start unpacking sort of why is school the way it is and what can it look like, right? Like, why do we have worksheets and textbooks and what is sort of active learning and what can parents expect and things like that. And so that's this week's, and we're going to sort of slowly over the summer unpack that in sort of bite-sized pieces, which I think hopefully then empowers parents to sort of go back to their schools and say, why are we doing this when we can do this, type of thing. And so that's
we actually have some polling out in the field because we love talking to parents and being able to quantify with data how they feel so that we can speak truth to power. Got some polling out in the field asking folks, what does that all mean? What do you mean by reimagining? What could it possibly look like? What are you thinking right now, baseline? And then we're going to be asking them some follow-up questions at the end of the summer. So I think, this is a good, time for us to start to dig into that and explore it because, we're parents. Reimagining education, like, what does that even mean? Like, what should we be looking for? So empowering folks with, information so that they can think deeply and then hold their folks accountable on the local level is going to be key.
And also, when you think about it, we spend a lot of time sort of unpacking the learning science for home, but let's sort of bring the learning science to bear in education as well. What does that look like sort of in the classroom when you're focusing on these same skills, right? When you're doing hands-on learning, when you're like, and so I think sort of making those connections, I know as a parent, it's so helpful to me. And so we hope that we can lend to NPU's work and sort of be more helpful to parents in that way as well. So
we're really excited to unpack that with you. So Mira, we're looking forward to these conversations throughout the summer.
Thank you both. See you next week.
Have a great day.
Mira Brown from Prepared Parents. Preparedforsuccess.org is where you can sign up for their emails, get them every single week. They really dig into the science, understand the why of why we are doing particular things and why you should. And, it makes me feel good that at least 2 tips for the week. If we can let them be curious, we can read to them a little bit, that I can handle as we start to navigate some uncharted waters here.
That's right.
Where we're going to have to keep them busy over the next several months. Oh my goodness. Well, another lady who is very busy and keeping her kids and everybody in her life busy. She is traveling throughout the Midwest all over the place. I think she's in Wisconsin today.
She is. She's somewhere.
But she hails from Oklahoma. So glad to have her with us. Colleen Cook is with us. Ooh, and I'm knocking the light over. Ooh, that was bright for a minute. Colleen, how are you? Nice to see you.
I am. Nice to see you. Thank you for having me on today. I'm in my hometown where I grew up, in Wisconsin, Elkhorn, Wisconsin, a small town. I'm helping my sister out, and we were just a couple hours away. I said, let's take my youngest daughter, who has never seen where mom grew up. Let's take her up there and show her my old stomping grounds. And when Mira was talking about curiosity, I was just thinking, yesterday I drove past my childhood home, and I'm pointing out to my daughter, I grew up out in the country. We had lots of yard, and so many houses weren't built there at the time. And I'm pointing out to my daughter, and there's a lady doing yard work, and she's like, can I help you? And I said, oh, we used to live here. I'm just showing my daughter. And she's like, are you the Tomaszewski girls? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, come on in. And so she walked us through the house and showed us all the work that they had done to the home and how much it had changed. And they were our neighbors growing up, so they knew us as little kids. And the woods, we talked about the woods. And as she's talking about curiosity, I was talking about it yesterday. So much of my youth, we didn't have a lot of organized activities all throughout. We were just kids, right? And my mom was a single mom, so we were at home with my oldest sister during our youth. And I tell you what, the woods was, I'm like, yeah, you got to tell your grandkids to watch out for the quicksand that's out there, right? Because that's what we did, is we went out and we explored and we used our imagination. And we didn't have Google, and we didn't have access to the library, because that was 7 miles away in town. And we explored, and we were just so curious. And I am so grateful for that. And I kind of took it away from my kids a little bit, I think, because we always lived in a suburb, and it just was different. And I don't know, I really treasure that. And so that's a really great tip that she shared, because I kind of reminisced about it yesterday and remembered all the things that I learned. Some of it was false. Tarzan isn't real, and not every black spider is a black widow, but
I think actually, as a mama, we live excuse me, here in the city. We have access to Google and Wi-Fi and all those kind of things, but and when we think about curiosity, and even just what I was saying, like maybe I should ask my kids, every week, come up with a report and something you want to. It's almost like manufactured curiosity that way.
Right.
I remember being a kid, and I grew up in some tough circumstances where I was kind of left to do my own thing quite often. And I kind of had the freedom to kind of decide what I was curious about and what I wanted to explore. It was really self-directed, and it really instilled in me that I don't need anybody to manufacture my thinking for me, which has served me well, I would say, in my path. And it's interesting when you don't have constant access to Google, where you have all of that information, or you've got to actually go out and seek that information and put some effort into it, or you don't have mom or dad saying to you, okay, you're going to do a report on space because I want you to be curious about space. Why? It's about thinking through, how do we give them more freedom so that they can kind of think through for themselves what they're curious about. And that kind of helps me circle back to you as a homeschooling mama, and how you kind of approach that. You are the president of an incredible organization, in addition to being a part of the National Parents Union, but the National Coalition for Public School Options. Options very important to you. You made some decisions for your kids, but that curiosity piece and being a little bit more self-directed directly impacts what you guys are doing at home, I'd imagine.
It does. And when your kid has access to you all day, and my youngest is now 15, and so the phone and everything is it's attached. It's an appendage at this point. And trying to get her to think outside the box is like a huge daily goal for me. How to get her disconnected, and in reality, COVID, like, there were some blessings in what has happened. And one thing that I told her, now this has given you an opportunity to connect with yourself and what interests you, because you're detached from your friends. Even though she has them, on social media, there is the detachment. They're not going out, they're not doing those things. And so I didn't want to force a lot. I try to throw some things out there. Like, she'll ask a lot of questions. She still asks questions, and they do get exhausting. You know that even when we're directing, and I usually say, well, give it a Google, like, take this into your own hands. And some of that leads to some really amazing things that she finds out, and things that, my middle child, he was at home with me for just a few years with school, and he went back into the public school system. But he's a sponge. He was that kid that I just had to throw an idea out there, and he, the rabbit holes he would go down with figuring things out, and just retaining the information and putting it to use. He's still putting some things. He's like, Mom, do you remember when you told me about this? And I'm like, no, really, I don't. Like, let's be honest, I don't remember when I told you to go figure that out or find that. I don't like to tell them what to think. I think there was a time I did. We see something for our kids, and we want to guide them to that, when we really just start directing their lives. And I've kind of reverted back to guiding them to information and letting them decide what they take away from it, and having an honest discussion, because we don't see it the same. And so, as a parent who's at home with them learning in that learning environment, I think that's one thing that I've, if I pat myself on the back for one thing, that's one thing that I give myself a lot of credit for, is giving them the latitude to be a free thinker, but kind of guide them to seek out information and not just veg out. Because let's be honest, they can take their free time or their school time and not make the best use of it. And they have the curriculum there, and that's one thing. But I learned here in Wisconsin, and when I did school in Oklahoma with my kids, some of the history pieces were a little different.
Mhm.
And I don't want to say I don't trust the textbooks, but they're not the only source of information. And so I would encourage them to go seek out, get another book. And every time I travel, I like to go to DC. I love DC. I love going to the monuments, and I always pick up a book or two from the actual monument or the museum that I go to and bring it home. And that's the table book for, a while. And they'll pick it up, and I don't want to force reading, but I'm a huge reader, and they'll pick some things up and talk about it. And Oklahoma just had the anniversary of the 1921 race riots. It wasn't even a riot, it was just an injustice. Massacre is what it was. And I lived in Oklahoma, so I lived there 6 years the first time, and now we're on 10 years this time. And I just myself learned about it a couple of years ago. And I had 2 graduates of public school. And then my daughter was in school, and she had no idea. My son had just recently graduated. He had no idea. His friend that came, I said, we're going. So we drove from Oklahoma City to Tulsa to the Greenwood community, and went to the historical center that they have there. And I'm like, this is an injustice to the injustice. They need a monument. They need a history cultural center that does it justice. And that was my learning for them. And this was a couple of years ago, and we still talk about it consistently. And I bring it up constantly, especially now with the climate that we're in right now, and just the things that are coming to talk about. I'm like, it happened here. Things happened here in our state that we're not talking about. We don't acknowledge. We built a park. That's not enough. You know, when you walk that street and you see the placards in the street of the business that was there and the business that is there, and whether they rebuilt or not, you feel it. Like, that is real. And we will never know what it was like, but you watch those pictures and you stand in that community and you look at you know, my kids were in awe. Catherine was in 8th grade, Spencer had just graduated, and they're in awe of that piece of history and what happened. You know, you can read about things that will never, you know, there's towns now built on lands, you know, landmarks and all that, but standing there and seeing the emptiness and seeing the businesses, I think, you know, that has been the best way I've taught my kids, I think, is through reality. And you know, that we're really talking about it now that, you know, some things are coming more to light. And
we're in such a unique moment right now. I mean, I'm just struck by what you're saying, and how true it really is, and how true it rings for all of us, because, you know, our textbooks and our public education system is mired in politics. You know, the idea that, like, the curriculum that is being presented in a lot of schools is based on political decision making. That is actually a thing. Like, that's not just a theory or an idea. This is something that's actively happening. So it makes sense that, you know, what happened, you know, in Tulsa, Black Wall Street, would be erased from history books. The injustice of that, the cruelty, the enormity of it. Like, you know, folks don't want to be talking about that, and the serious damage that was done to the Black community in Oklahoma, across the South, across the country, in the North, everywhere. Instead, we choose to paint this rosy picture. And then we wonder why we don't have real systemic societal change, when we refuse to even acknowledge the mistakes of the past. And when you're not acknowledging those mistakes and the things that you've done wrong, and taking corrective action by examining what happened and trying to be better. Like, we're not even admitting the wrongs that were perpetrated against huge groups of people. And then we wonder why, you know, it's been 400 years that we've been having the same damn conversation about race in this country, and not really, and just making that incremental change, and to the point where people are saying 400 years is enough. What do you need to see from us? How many millions of people do you need to see in the streets to make change? But we have a unique opportunity, I think, not only in our own homes, where we're now the curators of the curriculum that we're presenting. And from the beginning of these broadcasts, we've been talking about the fact that as parents, we really have an opportunity to decide what our kids are learning and how they're learning it, and whether or not it's culturally competent and inclusive of their heritage and their ethnicity and their experience. But we also have an obligation to have a deep conversation around what is happening systemically. You want to talk about problems, institutional racism, systemic racism. It starts with our schools. The school to prison pipeline starts in the school, in the classroom. And if we're not, nothing changes unless you change it.
Right. And, you know, it kind of, I'll go a little bit deeper and maybe off on that. You know, one thing that I try to be very real, and I think you do too. You are, I've told you before, you are, what you see is what you get. You speak your truth. And I think we've often been conditioned as individuals to not speak our truth, not be accountable for ourselves 100%. I've made mistakes. There's some things I just don't know, right? And I've made mistakes parenting. I've made mistakes in you know, relationships with other people. There's things I don't know about I'm very curious. I'm curious about religions. I'm curious about other races, and you know, wanting to learn because I don't know. And I think that's a huge part of it, is just saying, I don't know, teach me, you know, let me know. And I don't want someone to hold my hand, but I want to hear those experiences. And I have to admit to my kids that they don't know either, because I don't know. And we don't live like that, or we don't live that. It's not because we're better or whatever. We just, we've had different opportunities, and some of it is because of the country we were born into, and we're very lucky to do that. And then we have to take it into the schools and have those discussions. And parents are in a unique position at this point. The school is in their home. Everything that they didn't see before, the curriculum, the child's behavior, the interactions, maybe some of the content that they're learning in their comments about the content, the parents have a unique opportunity to learn about that and then go back into the school. And I feel it's my responsibility as an advocate to give those parents, one, the support that they need to go back into their schools and talk about the changes that need to happen, because they need to happen. We know that they need to happen, and to organize them in a way to get it accomplished in a peaceful, respectful manner. And sometimes you have to disturb the peace a little bit. And I fully believe that you have to disturb the peace a little bit. But when parents, one person can make a change, but a small group of parents can make a bigger change. And then if you have a large enough group, the change is inevitable. And we had a meeting yesterday, and Tim and I were talking about some different things, and I'm like, we have to be the change that we want to see. And it's a quote, it's used often, and I truly believe it, that we have to be that change. And while my experiences aren't the same as others' experiences, I will still advocate for them to have the positive, same, unbiased, non-judgmental, non-discriminatory opportunities that I had, because we're all human. At the end of the day, we're all human, and we all deserve that. And I'm excited in a sense that we had this opportunity with COVID, because I think we will turn around. I mean, the surveys we have surveys out there, so many surveys to pull from, where parents are really seeing a much clearer picture and are going to want that change when they come back into the school system. So that excites me. Like, I get excited because I think now we have like the real window of opportunity for change, right?
You got to take advantage of that. And
right.
I think that's why I'm so excited that you're actually joining us as a staff member of the National Parents Union, to make sure that story is told and make sure that the voices of our members are lifted up. We've been doing a hell of a job during COVID-19 getting parents in motion, getting their voices lifted up. A lot of national media, national press putting parents where they should be, at the center of the conversation about what's happening to our kids. But there's a lot of work to be done. And moving forward in the next couple of months, making sure that their voices are heard and we're all connected and we're all communicating is going to be key. And telling the story of why this organization works a little bit different. We're kind of as we always say, we're a horse of a different color. You ain't seen nothing like this before.
We're just getting started.
We're just getting started. I mean, incredible campaigns coming up. So you're going to be our new director of member communications. Are you excited?
I am excited. I am just, I've been telling you since January, just since our first convening, how exciting it is, and just the atmosphere, and to know that I'm going to be a bigger part of that, I think, is very exciting for me. I don't want to get all gushy, but it is an amazing opportunity, and the work of the amount of parents out there doing the work. They're doing the work, they're putting it in. And, we kind of, I think we had a plan, right? I think you had a vision going forward, and COVID-19 was not part of that. And it really jump-started a lot of things that now we have, we have a lot of ideas coming, but it's also opened that window of opportunity that all eyes right now are on education. I mean, they're on, healthcare and different things, but education is a conversation that is at the forefront. And now we have like this, open window or open door to just go in and have those discussions and empower those parents to go in and have those discussions. They are they know their kids best, and they're learning them as students now, because we don't know our kids as students, right? They're learning them not as just their kids, they're learning them as their students, and that is giving them a little bit more power to make those changes. And I'm excited. I'm excited to be a part of the National Parents Union. And I just have to say, I got a phone call yesterday from a fella. He had read an article, and National Parents Union survey was quoted in there. And so he did something, and somehow he found me on LinkedIn, and he connected with me on LinkedIn because he said, I'm just going to go to, the one organization that I know is out there. So I know that just in these few short months of being organized, we're making a difference. And that was a really good feeling. And you'll be getting that email today, because it's kind of surreal, but it was surreal that, this new organization has been able to reach like that and really have an impact already. And we're just getting started. So it is super exciting. Just getting started.
Very exciting moment. We're so excited that you're going to be with us on this ride, Colleen, helping to support all of these incredible members and lifting up their work and their voices. I think we got a lot to do, so I hope you're ready. I hope you're rested and ready to get to work. We got a lot of things.
I am, and I think my first item of business is to see if Floby is still a business.
eBay. I'm not sure. We'll have to ask the eBay over here. He's
Up on Amazon right now. I'll check it out for you. I'll let you know, Colleen.
Because I've had a few. Her story about cutting hair. I actually used my hair cutting skills as a punishment for my teenage son, who loved his hair. His hair was his thing, and he had a hairdresser, and he loved her the whole time we were in, like, it was a thing. Well, he was breaking some rules, and I said, that's it. No, Nikki, mom's doing it. It was not pretty. It was not, it was, he had a mullet. It was pretty, I mean, I think he was going for the mullet, but it was not pretty. And it kind of straightened him up a little bit. I'll say that. Like, he knew mom meant business when I took Nikki away. So you do what you have to do, right, as a parent. So yeah, we'll check if Floby's a business, and we'll get on them. And I think we may have boosted their sales today.
I think so. It's sponsored by Goya, sponsored by Floby.
That's right. We'll take it.
By Amazon.
And Starbucks. Don't forget Starbucks.
And Starbucks. That's right.
That's right.
Thank you for Eats as well. Colleen, thank you so much for joining us. She's actually in Wisconsin today, but hailing from Oklahoma, our Director of Member Communications. She is connecting the stories, lifting them up, lifting up our members, making sure their voices are heard. So we so appreciate you, Colleen. All right.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
That is another edition of NPU Live, joining you from Boston this morning, where it is beautiful and a little cold.
It's cold, but it's okay. We'll survive. We're tough.
That's right. And we will be back tomorrow morning with more exciting guests. Just thrilled to welcome Colin Seal, David Knock Daniel, and Sharonda Knott Dawson tomorrow. But make sure you tune in tonight for The Parent Effect with Kelly Williams-Villar, coming to you from Ohio. Extraordinary shows there. But again, make an appointment, 4:00 tomorrow. It's Dad to Dad.
That's right.
Don't miss it.
That's right. It's going to be a good one.
All right. We'll see you tomorrow.
Have a nice day, everyone.
Bye-bye.